Hi. Now today I've started the day with some awesome news. I was discharged from district nursing this morning. Woohoo! Now I've been under district nursing since July last year. Many months. So I cannot believe that I've finally got there. We've finally got this godforsaken leg healed and I no longer have to stick things to it or hang around and wait for nurses. Such an amazing start to my day. Decided to celebrate with a walk in the park. Now, I was tempted to dash off to the swimming pool because it was just about time, but I thought that it'd be best if I was to vary what I was doing and give my arms a rest from swimming for a while. There's always tomorrow. And might even try the outdoor saltwater pool at Lake St Clair, but we'll see. So I'm in Queen's Park. I have made it halfway around the band rotunda. There it is. And if there was not someone sitting on the seat on the opposite side, I would try a half semicircle round here, but I'd need to sit down round the other side. There's no way I couldn't make it all the way, and there's a group sitting there and they have been for a while, so probably have to leave that for another day. It's quite busy here because it's a nice day and the schools are still off, but the inevitable happened in the car park. I parked in one of the 3 disabled spots. The car park was quite busy. I'm quite thankful the disabled spot was actually free because there's not too many I can park in where I can get the door wide enough open. And there was 2 little old ladies coming back to their car, which was parked next to me in another disabled spot. I had the door open, I was just about to get out, and they obviously saw the sign on the side of my car and made some mutter under their breath about how, well, that car parked in a disability spot, I don't think it should be parked there. So I opened the door and got out and said, well, I've been dying to tell someone for a long time. Who are you? The parking police? I've only got one bloody foot. Is that all right with you? And walked off and left them standing there. Some people just need to mind their own bloody business. Quite a well-used park. I think it's got about a 5k perimeter and it's right in the centre of Invercargill. It's also very well kept. It's one of the best organised parks I think I've been to. There's a lot of stuff they squash into this park. I'd have to find a list for you. There's a band rotunda, which does get used, a Japanese garden, a Chinese garden, a cafe, of course, a duck pond, and then there's the stumpery. They've made art out of tree stumps and things, and they're scattered around the park as well, actually. And then a golf course and frisbee golf and many walks and things like that. So it's a really nice park. And Liz will never forgive me if I don't mention it. It's also the site of the Invercargill Park Run. The cutest little thing just happened. Now, I did walk halfway around the band rotunda. Didn't do the full circle, but decided to try the half circle, and there was a family at the other end, but they looked like they were leaving, so it didn't matter. Now, on an aside, it was actually half a kilometre in total, which is the same as the walk that I do to the bird hide down on the estuary, but this time I only stopped once, and I expected to have to stop more often, and this felt a lot easier. And if I concentrate on how my foot lands through rather than just plonk, then it makes it easier. So I got back to the cafe feeling less exhausted than expected. So little tiny steps. Anyway, the funny thing that happened was, as I was approaching the seat where there was a lot of children, there was a family and everything. Now, I had my line ready because I knew one of them was going to ask. The line I had ready that I hadn't been able to use at Christmas was I got run over by a reindeer. So there was a little girl, maybe 3, 2 or 3, 3, yeah. And then there was a boy that was a bit older, a couple of years older, and then one that was a couple of years older again, and a family, and they were having a picnic. The boys were on scooters and the girl was walking around. As I approached, the little girl looked and went, "Oh, what happened to your leg?" And I said, "Oh, I was run over by a reindeer." And she looked and turned to her mum and went, "Oh, Mummy, that lady was run over by a reindeer." Now, the mum immediately started sniggering behind her hand, and the 2 boys had set off on their scooters. Now, I carried on going. I didn't stop, and I carried on walking round the semicircle, and the 2 boys followed me. But they were just behind me, and the youngest one of the 2 said, that's silly. Reindeers don't exist. So I stopped and turned around and said, who said that? And the youngest was like, me. I said, and how do you know reindeers don't exist? And he said, well, that's because Santa doesn't exist. I said, oh, and how do you know that? And he said, well, it's because it's your mummy and daddy just pretending to be Santa. I said, well, is it? Well, I don't believe you. And I turned around and carried on. And he scooted alongside me and he says, maybe you were run over by a deer. And I stopped and said, maybe I was. Or perhaps it was bitten off by a shark. And I left him thinking about it. So that was a cute little interaction between the kids. It's a shame that he at that age already doesn't believe in Santa, but I like the fact that he was playing along with the game. Now, I am now in Dunedin, as you have guessed. Sorry for the lateness of this, but I ended up catching up with a friend and talking to them for a long time. Anyway, what I want to talk about is the drive here. Now, it's about 200 k's, which is about 125 miles, and as you saw on the roads, really there's not much. Now, it's a single carriageway road, which is not how the main trunk road between towns would be in England. You would have a motorway between towns, and then the trunk roads would be the side roads. However, motorways, yeah, let's talk about that. On the A road between here and Dunedin, it is single carriageway all the way, and I rarely come up on traffic. I did get up behind a truck, and the trucks travel at a good fair speed, 100 k's unless they go up hills, and then you have to wait for passing lanes to come along. But it's still a fairly swift route to drive, and it's not very stressful, and that's quite by contrast. If you were in England, you would be bumper to bumper, you'd have traffic both ways, you'd have to always be concentrating and looking. It's quite stressful. And if you were on a main road between towns, you'd be on a motorway, and that's 3 lanes, and you'd be bumper to bumper, and it's quite stressful, and it's not at all a relaxing drive. I don't have to really do much thinking because there's not that much traffic on the road, and it's relatively easy. It's 2.5 hours, still a long way, but it's not something that I get too stressed about, and people do it relatively regularly. You wouldn't want to do that drive regularly if you were anywhere in England with the volume of traffic that you would have to deal with and the stress that's related to that. However, let's get to the motorway. So yes, the Southern Motorway. Now, it is at the back end of Dunedin, and I think it's the only motorway in the South Island. But New Zealand, I'm sorry, I have to argue, it's not a motorway. It really isn't. If you think about the road I showed you that I was driving down towards the pool the other day, that is what they might call a dual carriageway, but that's what I would call maybe an avenue. And the motorway, that's what I would call a dual carriageway. I would not call it a motorway. It's still 100 k's, which is, I think, 65 miles an hour, maybe. It's not 70, it's lower than that. And it's the same speed as the other road further back, which was single carriageway both ways. The motorway is the same speed. We don't go any faster, but it's 2 lanes. So it's a dual carriageway with a concrete barrier. That's it, is my description. It has slip roads that come on and slip roads that go off, but it has traffic lights. I mean, New Zealand, what the hell have we got traffic lights for on a motorway? A motorway, in my terms, is a fast road with minimal stops, that high-speed fast road with no stops that gets you from A to B quicker than any other way. But here, the motorway's not long enough. I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 k perhaps, and it only connects Mosgiel to Dunedin. That's it. You go over 2 hills and then you're at the end of it. That is not a motorway. It's not high speed. It's not connecting main towns together, and it's not getting you anywhere faster. And it's definitely not a motorway. It doesn't have a hard shoulder. So if you break down tough titty, sometimes the shoulder at the side of the road is wide enough for you to park a car on. Sometimes it's not. Too bad. It has traffic lights. What the hell? It has sections that are 60 kilometers an hour, which is like 55 miles an hour. What the hell? It is not a motorway. And I don't care what you say, New Zealand, it is not a motorway. A motorway is a high-speed road, non-stop high-speed road with more lanes that gets you somewhere faster. And this one doesn't. This motorway in England is like a freeway in America. And this is not a motorway. I don't care what you say. And every time I come past that sign that says motorway starting in 400 meters, it makes me laugh. Yeah, it's a ridiculous thing. Now, Dunedin, I'm not sure how much time I will have tomorrow, but if I do get time, I will show you. Dunedin is a Scottish-based built town. The settlers that came here and built this town were Scottish, and it is much more built up and looks a lot more city-like compared to Invercargill. Dunedin's on hills and it's got a harbour, and it looks a lot more Englishish to me than Invercargill does. However, it's quite late. I've just checked into my hotel and I am going to make a coffee and then go and edit this video. So tomorrow is leg day. Now I am seriously thinking that they're just going to cast the leg and I have to come back again and again and again. But it's a step closer to getting another leg. So there we are, I can't complain. And I'm all healed and I don't have to see a district nurse, and maybe the next time I get a leg I'll be able to ride a bike, maybe. So that was today. Any questions, anything you want me to add, let me know. Have a lovely evening, day, morning, whatever time of the day it is in your part of the world, and I'll talk to you soon.